So a couple days ago, an idea popped into my head that I was going to finish Inktober within 24 hours. And before I had thought about how much work this would actually be, I had already started telling people, so I was basically obligated to do it at this point. Now, I've never finished Inktober within a month, never mind a day, so I really had no idea if I was going to be able to do this. But here we are. I have attempted drawing Inktober within a day, and let's see where we end up. So the math behind this, if you would like to take a moment to consider with me. Suppose that each drawing took you 10 minutes and you didn't take any breaks for the entirety of the challenge, and 10 minutes is really not a lot of time to finish a drawing. That would still run you over 5 hours. Bring it up to 20 minutes, still no breaks, and it already goes to 10 hours, and I needed to take several breaks while drawing this or I would probably injure myself. I've done it before. And I had started thinking about this the night before, and it was really starting to get in my head that, wow, that's a lot of work. I don't think I can do this. I'm probably going to fail. And someone was like, wow, what a cool idea. That sounds awesome. And I was like, well, at least if I fail, I can record myself crying and still have something to talk about. Most of my friends already know how this turned out, but it's still kind of nice to just reflect on it and show all the people that weren't there with me. As you can see, I did all of the sketches just in one go before I inked any of them. I wanted to get all of the sketches out of the way. For those of you who don't know, Inktober is a drawing challenge where for October, for all 31 days, you're supposed to create a new drawing and you ink it. And there's a prompt list that's put out by the creators every single year for Inktober, and there's also a bunch of other ones online. People make their own prompt lists. I'm going to be using the original prompt list. I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of a move right now, and I've already packed away all my art supplies, so I do have to do all of this digitally, which is a little unfair, but shut up. But yeah. I'll be doing each drawing digitally. I did set some other rules for myself, like every single drawing has to be sketched and inked within the same day, and I do not stop the timers for any breaks that I take or for anything. Once the timer starts, it keeps going until either I finish the challenge or I die, I guess. You know. I'm just taking a moment to look at it. I'm still really fond of the trap one. I did make a couple minor edits once the camera stopped because I was so woozy near the end of this challenge, and you'll get to see later. I'll like point it out. Let's see. This one's sleep. I think that's prompt number 20. That one took me a few tries. I actually edited out some of the earlier sketches that I did. I sketched that one like 3 different times, but I didn't move the canvas much, so I'm like, shh, it's okay, I'll just cut them out. I'll make it look like I sketched this first try. Chef was one that was really fun. It was my friend who was like, yeah, you should stick moth in a frying pan, and I just started I said, you should cook moth, and I just could not stop laughing, so I just stuck moth in a frying pan. It's like, goodbye. And I still find that one really funny. So I think around this point, I think it took me about 3 hours to do all of the sketches, and I did take a couple of breaks during that time because, I don't know, I didn't want to destroy my hands for the 50th time. I do that a lot. I get a lot of repetitive stress injuries in my hands because sometimes I tend to work myself too hard, so I was really at risk of doing that within this challenge, and I wanted to avoid that. These were the 3 prompts that I was like, yeah, let's just speed through these. They're probably my least favorite of the bunch because they were the ones that I really put the least thought into. But you know what? I still like them. I still like them for what they bring to the table. I kind of whooped my flashcards a little bit. Yeah, I got really nervous. I've recorded myself for the voiceover about a lot of times now, so I made myself some flashcards because I wrote the script so many times and I just couldn't get it right. Eventually I was like, maybe flashcards is a better approach. Alrighty, it's about the 3-hour mark. I was right! 2 hours and 50 minutes was when I had finished doing all of my sketches. So, Fish was like one of the prompts. Fish and the second one, which is Wisp, I believe? I didn't like either of these two sketches, though the funny thing is I actually ended up liking Wisp less when I remade it. So that worked out for me great, but Fish ended up being one of my favorite prompts and one of my favorite drawings, even though it's the first one, so I'm really glad I resketched that one. My brain fizzled out there, I don't know if you could tell. So, just drawing some fish, yo. This one is definitely one of the ones that I knew was gonna take me longer, but I don't know, the first and the last prompts were ones that I just kind of wanted to make look really nice. I don't know, I wanted to start strong and I wanted to end strong, so most of the ones that I'm not as happy with are in the middle. Or they're prompt number 2. That one's still fun. There's not actually any of these that I really, like, super dislike. I'm pretty happy with almost all of them in some regard or another. And weirdly enough, the ones that I'm most proud of aren't the ones that I think look the best. The ones that I'm happiest with are the ones that are kind of like okay, that I didn't put too much time and effort into, because I'm someone that struggles a lot with perfectionism. It's part of why I've put off editing this video for like a few days now. It's part of why it took me like 50 bajillion takes to do the recording, and I'm probably still not going to use this take anyway. And it's part of a lot of the problems that I have. I'm often so much of a perfectionist that I just never end up doing the things that I want to do because I don't believe in myself. And this entire challenge was almost a case of it. I was very certain, I'm gonna fail, so I was like, maybe I just shouldn't do this. But I did, and we're here now. And we're on prompt number 4. We are just slamming them out one after the other. 4 was another one that I wasn't super happy with. I originally had a much darker idea for how I was gonna take this prompt, but I didn't go in that direction, because it was kind of scary. I have a lot of disaster fears. I have ever since I was a kid, and the idea that I was going to take radio in was really based on that. I don't know if you know about like those old emergency kits or whatever. They used to have like these PSAs, or they'd tell me in school. Honestly, I don't remember the situation, but it was always like, you've got to make a weather disaster kit. Be prepared for anything. Make your disaster kit include some water bottles and a radio so you can contact the outside world. But I was always really, really afraid of natural disasters. So the idea I originally had was like a radio surrounded by like rubble, and it had like a hand sticking out. And it was honestly it was a little too gruesome really for the kind of drawings that I want to create, so I ended up not going with it. But it was one that I actually did really like. Fancy was another one of the prompts that I ended up just really enjoying. I just kind of had a good time drawing this one. It doesn't have any special meaning. It just looks cool. I like how the cape fluff turned out. I like that I gave myself different boots. I just really liked this one. I had a good time. I was also really fond of like the inking that I did for the dots. We're at about like the 5-hour mark, and let's see, Fancy I think is the 7th prompt? Yeah, because Rodent's number 6, so Fancy's number 7. So at about 5 hours, we were 7 prompts down. Oh boy. We still have a long way to go. Teeth is another one. Teeth was actually one that I did when I was sketching radio. How I said it was very based on my fear of disasters. I was originally going to make all of the prompts based on fears I have in some way or another. and teeth is one that hits kind of close to home. I know a lot of people tend to have nightmares about losing their teeth. I don't. I am just extremely afraid of dentists, but I have first-hand experience with losing a lot of my teeth and stuff. I've had a lot of dental work done because I didn't take care of my teeth well enough as a kid, but when I was in high school, it started giving me like some really bad problems, and I was too afraid of dentists at that point to get it fixed. It's good now. I'm not in pain anymore, but I've had a lot of issues around my teeth. Hope was one that I ended up really liking the style of. Throw was just because I'm like, hey, I gotta have one where I just stop caring, so it might as well be Throw. But Hope, I was like, I really don't have any ideas with this. And one of the friends I was on call with was like, you better hope you finish this. And I was like, wow, great idea. Let's draw me drawing the challenge. And that is exactly what I did, but I ended up really enjoying it. Disgusting was probably one of the most fun prompts. That's the one that's on screen right now. And I just drew Moth as like a big old slime ball. And I don't know why. I gave her really tiny hands because I think that tiny hands make anything way creepier. I don't know why, but like if you want to make something creepy, give it tiny hands, like little baby hands. It's frightening in a way I can't quite explain. I do that for like a lot of my big monster creatures. I'll like draw like this big giant fiendish monster with huge teeth, and then I'll give it these tiny little baby hands. And it's just so weird, but it's always worked for me. This was, I think, the first prompt that I started experimenting with like making them all a sort of continuous image. And I think that's actually what gave me a decent amount of speed in a weird way. It kind of helped speed up the process a little bit. Dune was one that I was able to take very little time on, and for some reason, it's just still one of my favorites. Just this weird zoomed out image of Moth sliding down a sand dune in the middle of the desert. Armor is another one of those ones that I'm kind of like, on. I don't dislike it. I'm pretty fond of the way I drew, like, what's it called? I want to say mask, but I don't think that's quite right. But the little eye slots, I think those came out pretty well. Alright. So let's see, I think Outpost is number 15. So we are about halfway through all of the inking of the challenge. Yay! Yay! We did it. Good job. Let's go home. We finished half of it. Rocket was definitely one of my favorite ones, just because it's funny. That was another one that I was in a Discord call at the time, and one of my friends was like, "You should just strap Moth to a rocket." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And God, that one just came out funny. I love that one. She's kicking and screaming. She's gonna die. There's a lot of these where Moth just dies. I hope nobody minds. Ideally, I hope nobody can hear it, but there's a lot of like cars going in the background. I couldn't really do too much about that. I'm actually recording in my sister's room because, believe it or not, it's the quietest room in the house. I'm looking through the flashcards that I prepared for myself, just in case I ran out of things to talk about, which I figured I would. I'm a very talkative person. I feel like I can talk anyone to death, but that's people. Talking to a microphone? It's weird. I actually expected that talking to like a microphone would be like easier, because I constantly run people over in speech. I'm a very hard person to get a word in edgewise with, but I don't know why talking to a camera just makes me really anxious. This one This one was one of my laziest ones, but I just love the word bonk written above it. That's not even the right sound effect, but this is actually one of the ones that I mean when I say I was really proud of my lazier ones. I have a really bad problem when it comes to perfectionism. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this, but just allow me to go into a little bit more detail on that, if you would. I lost my flashcard on perfectionism. Yes, I wrote it as a pre-prepared topic. Can I find it? No! Oh, I found it. Okay. So if I could go into a little bit more detail on it, I'm a really bad perfectionist, and I ended up writing like 10 scripts for this. And every single time I just was like not happy with it. And I put off editing for like a few days, and it really almost stopped me from doing the challenge because I'm constantly worried about how other people see me. And I'm really trying to work on just believing in myself instead of being the first one to put myself down. And I'm really proud that there's a couple drawings in here that are like really lazy. I don't know if this sounds kind of bad, but the drawings that look really, really good are not actually the ones that impress me, because most of them are in a skill range. Like, a lot of them, they do look really good, but they're in a skill range that I have seen from myself before. So I'm really proud of them, but it's like, yeah, I knew I could do that. Whereas the ones that were lazy and I just was like, fuck it, I'll just draw a moth with a bear trap on her head. That was actually the thing that surprised me. That was something that I have come to not really expect from myself. Even when I draw like comics and stuff, I have a lot of trouble just doing things that would save myself very, very precious time and effort, and I really end up overextending myself all the time. So it was nice to look back on these drawings that I'm like, wow, you're not the most visually interesting thing, but if I hadn't done this somewhere, I might not have finished the challenge. Also, I have actually done it in the past where I have drawn my ideas for Inktober, and I have quit Inktober because there was like 2 drawings that I just didn't like, and I would just never post them, and then I would just never finish the challenge after that. So that's my character development within this video. Good job, me. You didn't quit the entire challenge just because a couple drawings were really lazy. Oh my god. Chef was one of my favorite ones. I did it twice for that reason. I'm just happy to look at the one that says goodbye, you dumb fuck again. This one is another one of my favorites. This one wasn't like lazy to me in the traditional sense, because I think this was it's just funny. I like to draw comics a lot, and when I had first started this one, I was like, yeah, I should include a comic in my Inktober stuff. And I had originally drawn like panels and stuff for this, but then I was like, nah, that's a waste of time. So you get this no border mini comic of Moth getting shot in the head by an arrow. Ooh, rip. The next prompt is rip, by the way, if you weren't sure. So yeah, we're at the 10-hour mark, and we are still not done. Let's see, rip is number 20-something? I think sleep is 20, which would make chef 21. So I believe rip is 22. And I knew we were many hours in when I was inking the 2 bonus joke drawings, and I was like, I don't care. Let's go on and spend the extra time on 2 bonus drawings. God, I don't know if you could, that hand, that's a claw hand right there. I fix it in a minute, but or I go back and fix it later. I don't know. I fix it eventually. What was I talking about? I don't remember. I saw that claw hand and I was like, shit. But yeah, I was still not confident at this point that I would finish the challenge, but I was like, 2 bonus drawings won't hurt. So new Inktober challenge, 33 drawings instead of 31. These were the drawings that I was just kind of like okay on. They look good. They definitely don't look bad, but they're not super visually interesting to me in comparison to the other ones, and I didn't put much thought into them. I tried to put a lot of thought into most of them. It's funny because I was just talking about how I was really proud of the lazy drawings a minute ago, but not as much these ones. These ones are okay. No hard feelings against them, but they're kind of my least favorite of the bunch. Especially music, because this was another one where it was just like, just draw a moth playing the triangle, and I was like, yeah, that's an idea. I literally didn't put thought into that one. Someone else put the thought into it for me. But these two, we are about 5 minutes from disaster now. These two were some of my favorite drawings. But something very horrible happened to me at this point. And you're going to find out what it was in just a second. It's every artist's worst nightmare. Goodbye, you stupid ass. So, I think in a second I'm gonna select it. You're gonna see what happens. Oh no. They're on the same layer. I drew my line art over my sketch layer on 28 and 29? 28 and 29. And I was so tired at this point, my hands fucking moved before I had even thought about it. And I had this genius plan. I lowered the saturation on the whole layer, and I yoinked up the brightness until the sketch was light gray and completely white. And the black line art was just light gray. And in a stroke of genius, I duplicated the layer and I set it to multiply. Right here. No, that's subtract. There we go. So, if you don't know how multiply works, basically, color on computers is represented as a value. And think of the color white as like the number 1. White doesn't multiply against other colors because it's basically 1 for a computer. And if you multiply 1 times 10, basic math, you still get 10 because because the number 1 doesn't change the value of numbers when you multiply it against them. So that's why I had set them to multiply, and I had changed the sketch to white. And at this point, they were on different layers. And the problem was solved. And I am a genius. We can all go home now. It's the hour of darkness, and I have solved it. So the prompt for this one was shoes. My teaspoon. It scared me. So I drew myself as a clown. I'm real proud of that one. Alright, so we're at Ominous. And we're also at... We're at about 10 hours at this point, I believe. Maybe more? Maybe 11, I think. And I was like, you know what? It's the final stretch. I know I'm going to finish it now. I can take my sweet time. No! I took too much time. This was too much. You haven't even seen what I have done yet, but ooh, I'm mad at myself for this one. This did look really cool to me though. I was proud of how it looked. But all of that like gray stuff, those are all individual lines that are really tiny. I was like, yeah, I can take my time. So I started texturing like the whole thing. And I don't even know what speed this is on. It's really high at this point. I had to like yoink the speed up a little bit, and it's still just an arduous process. I think this specific drawing, I know it took me at least an hour, but it might have taken me 2. I don't know. It was really getting up there. My hand was cramping. My hand was cramping before I started this drawing, but afterwards, after doing tons of tiny repetitive lines, oh, I was feeling it. I was feeling it and I was not liking it. So I don't know why I decided to do that. My brain was kind of fried at this point, and I was making a lot of irrational decisions. I had been drawing for over 10 hours now. Dumb decisions like not separating my layers. You think I would have learned my lesson last time when that, like, nearly cost me 2 whole drawings? No! And even when I figure out that this is a problem for me, I still don't try to fix it. I just keep redrawing the freaking hand and then, like, refilling in the textured lines. I'm like, separating the layers? Whew, that's crazy talk. I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, even with the two left hands, I ended up really enjoying that one. We're at the last drawing. We're in the final stretch. And this was like, yeah, I gotta do something really cool here. So I set the background to black and I started drawing in white because I was like, yeah, I think I can make this really, really cool. And this one ended up visually being my favorite one of the bunch. The prompt is crawl, if you can't see it there. And I didn't want to spend as much time doing ridiculous texturing, but I did want to do a little bit because I think that kind of repetitive line shading looks really, really nice. And I think it looked really, really nice doing it in white on black. So we're in the final stretch now. My brain is fried. I'm not going to take as much time texturing this one. I thankfully did learn my mistake from the ominous prompt. So we can just sit back and enjoy it. We are truly in the end game now. I don't remember what amount of time I was at. I know the time when I ended this was. I was actually really surprised at the time that it took me to do all of these, because I did take several breaks, and the breaks were pretty long too. I don't think I would have gotten nearly as little time if I didn't cut corners here and there, which is why I'm really proud of them, because it allowed me to have the energy to make really cool drawings like this one, which ended up being visually my favorite drawing. I just wrote thack instead of thank, so let that be a testament to the fact that my brain was not working at this point. But that is the end. Let's see. I'm really glad that I gave myself the chance to fail at this, and also subsequently the chance to succeed. Because I'm so afraid of failure that oftentimes I'm the first one to tell myself no. And sometimes if you want to give yourself the chance to succeed, you kind of have to be open to the idea of looking dumb. And I didn't know that I could do this, but I am really glad I tried. The ending time was 13 hours and 7 minutes. And in 24 hours, I think I did create something really cool. I hope you like it as much as I do. And if you're still here, thank you for watching. This is my first video, so if you enjoy this, I would appreciate if you subscribed. I don't know what kind of content I'm going to do, and I don't know when I'm going to do content, but I do want to try and do some fun stuff in the future. Alright, now here's an audio clip from when I was recording these drawings. Goodbye!
You think the jester would make funnies on the king? No. He would make funnies when he's not in front of the king.
Isn't it his job to be funny in front of the king?
Yes, but it's gonna be hard.
Bro, yeah, his performance anxiety. It's like
the jester has performance anxiety. He cannot make the king laugh anymore.